Welcome back, 5th grade. We're on Domain 9, Chemical Matter. Lesson 5, Call in the Sheriff. Our objectives for today are to organize and create a police report, which will then be revised in response to a peer feedback. And we're going to debate whether the sheriff should investigate the missing fossil using evidence from multiple sources. Our key vocabulary for today is investigation. It's a formal observation or study of something. For police, an investigation is done to find out whether a crime was committed or who committed it. So we're going to complete a police report, a report of a possible crime. The report will be submitted to the sheriff, who will decide if there's enough evidence to have a warrant for an investigation. The purpose of a police report is the need for factual and accurate information, and it gives the most relative details for the police to investigate, and they can assess whether the crime should be investigated or not. These are two examples of police reports. So sample 1, the incident was a reported robbery. This is where it took place, the person that saw it, and evidence. The evidence they have is fingerprints. This is her account of the situation, or the account that the police officer took in report to this. This morning at 10 a.m., there was a reported robbery on the corner of Smith and Jones Street. Mrs. Baria, age 53, called the police after seeing a man run out of the grocery store. This is what she said. I arrived at the scene at 11:15 a.m. and spoke with that is the police that said that, with Miss Baria. She told me there was glass all over the street when she turned the corner from the grocery store window. I checked this and there was glass on the pavement. She saw a man who looked suspicious and was running fast out of the grocery store. She could not describe the height or appearance of the suspect. She thought he was wearing a mask, but she could not be sure at that distance. There was no CCTV footage of the event. We have found fingerprints on the counter of the grocery store. Further analysis is needed to determine if the fingerprints belong to the shopkeeper and his assistant or another. The shopkeeper, Mr. Thompson, was not present, but we interviewed him later that day. He claimed that yesterday a large amount of money had been stolen. He also reported that his assistant was the only other person who was aware of the money. We have not been able to contact or locate the assistant and will continue to try. Mr. Thompson reported that on the previous day, he and his assistant arrived at the store with the money at 3 p.m. His assistant went into the back to compile inventory. 2. Mr. Thompson at this time put the money in the safe. At 3:30 p.m., he and his assistant worked as usual until in the store until 5:30 p.m. His assistant left for the day. Mr. Thompson left the store at 7 p.m. and went straight home. He locked the store as usual. His assistant does not have a key, he says. So that is an example of a police report. It provides the facts. There's no opinions on it where I think this person did it. It's the facts of what happened and what was observed. Sample 2. This one also has a date included to it. It has a time that it happened. Who was the inspector or the officer? Where did it take place? And what? So this is the nature of this report is police information. This officer was on duty and patrolling when he was alerted by radio to missing person reported in the nearby area. He drove straight to the named house, arriving at 11:15 a.m. There he met Melissa Mulan, who had filed the report and was worried about the disappearance of her boyfriend, Jesus. Melissa is 28 and works full-time in retail and has been with her boyfriend for about 2.5 years. He was last seen on the previous evening and had been due to arrive at her apartment that morning and then go on a picnic. I asked for their movements the previous day. Melissa had met her boyfriend for dinner with her parents at 7 p.m. the previous evening at an Italian restaurant De Loca. They had dinner and Melissa accompanied her parents back to their home. She stayed for a cup of coffee. Jesus, she believes, would have returned to his apartment. She said that he sometimes picks up documents from work late to carry on working at home. Initially, Mulan told me she could think of no reason for his non-appearance this morning. On further conversation, however, it emerged that they had a serious argument the night before. It also emerged that on previous occasions her boyfriend had taken a day or two to cool off after an argument. I will check with Jesus' closest friends and family and then advise waiting several hours before further investigation. Again, notice how there's facts of things that have happened. So now it's going to be your turn. You're going to write a police report to the sheriff. Be sure to look back at Chapter 3 if you need help remembering details. So you're writing this report through the perspective of the missing fossil. That is your job. So what things and facts would a police officer need to know in order for them to determine if they need to investigate? You're going to complete this on a separate piece of paper and have it ready for future lessons. Remember, concisely summarize the events. Do not go into this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Summarize it, make it more simple. Make sure the sheriff can easily find the most important information and be objective and state only the facts. Do not give your opinion of who you think might have stolen the fossil or if the fossil was even stolen. That's an objective, or objective. You can, or that's subjective. That's not objective. We want you to have the facts. Next, do you think the sheriff should investigate? So, what does the investigation process look like? So, the initial investigation, will involve a review of the witnesses, scenes, and all other available evidence. Then, their investigative assessment. After the initial investigation, a decision will then be made whether to transfer the crime to an officer or if they're even going to investigate or not. This can look like determined by the seriousness of the offense, will it be able to be solved, and the level of resources for the seriousness of this offense. There are two possible outcomes at this point. Either the investigation will be closed or the crime will go on for further investigation. If it goes on to further investigation, it's going to be transferred to someone who is able to get more information. So they're then going to take more statements from the victim and any witnesses. And they're arresting and detaining any identifiable suspects and formally interview them at the police station. At the end of this investigation, there are three possible things that are going to happen. Either a suspect's going to be charged, the suspect is told that they will be sent to court and what law they're going to be alleged to have broken. They could have been cautioned, which means they are given an official warning, which is in some circumstances, or no their further action. So if there's not enough evidence to charge or caution anybody, there's nothing else that's going to be done. Preventing crime better than catching officers. The Chief Inspector of England and Wales suggested police forces would get more bang for their buck if they focus on prevention rather than cure. Mr. Windsor said the primary purpose of police is crime prevention. Sir Robert Peel, who founded the modern police service in 1829, said the primary test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder, he said. If we can prevent offenses taking place, we prevent there being any victims, which is absolutely critical, and also we save all of those costs. So, your assessment for today, you're going to write an argument convincing the sheriff. Do you think that he should investigate or not? Make sure you use information from the text and the police report that you've already created to support your argument. Be clear, make an argument, make sure it's punchy and compelling so it's interesting, and you can use stories to make your argument. That is the end of today's lesson. We will see everyone next time.